So, the longer I've thought about Sonic and Mario's worst first level, the tougher it's gotten. LEGO Sonic the Hedgehog said that the Game Boy Advance port of Sonic 1 takes this one. Also, it's crazy that LEGO Sonic commented on my videos. Guys, I'm basically famous now. Anyway, that game did lose worst Game Boy Advance game for Sonic in this video. Go check it out. It is really bad. It's definitely the single worst way to play the first Sonic game. But can I really say that it's the worst level? It's the same level as Green Hill Zone from the Genesis. It's just a shitty port. A better example would have been Sonic Jam for the Game.com, which is the first levels of Sonic 2, 3, and Knuckles. Here, each level is remade, and each one is the absolute shittiest version of these stages. These exact stage layouts are only found here though. But considering you can select each one of the stages right off the bat, I can't really say any one of them is the first level. Or how about racing games? Can I effectively add the first course of Sonic Drift? What about Metal City from Sonic Riders? I would never say Metal City in a video like this. I love this map. Or how about the first board in the story mode of Sonic Shuffle? What about the first arena in Sonic the Fighters? As if there's any difference between the arenas besides looks. A simple answer is to only look at the main games and decide, but I don't love that answer. It means I can't look at games like Sonic for the Dig and shit, and I haven't even mentioned Mario games yet. I think for some Mario games, games like Odyssey, I'll have to consider the first area, even if there's a ton of shit to do there. Also, it would feel really cheap to include tutorials, so none of that nonsense, as little as I can include here. So I'll try to consider everything within reason. No racing games, fighting games, dancing games, games with no discernible first level, or any of that other weird crap. Also, no games that are just TV shows, sorry Sonic X for the Game Boy Advance, and no McDonald's LCD games, although I guess that kind of falls into games with no discernible first level. Okay, with that out of the way, I'm looking at Sonic first this time. What is Sonic's worst first level ever? So for this list, I pulled up a list of every Sonic game ever made. Man, most of these have, at worst, a mid first level. One that catches my eye right off the bat is Sonic Labyrinth. I did check this one out in my Sonic Games for the Game Gear video, an oldie. Sonic Labyrinth was in no way as bad as people made it out to be. Admittedly, it wasn't great, but it was playable. It also doesn't feel like a Sonic game, but that's another story. The first level, Labyrinth of the Sky 1-1, is the least confusing one here. Of course, a first level should be more simple than the rest of the game, but you can beat the level in like 1 minute, genuinely. I mean, the game as a whole is pretty short, but that's kind of ridiculous. There's a couple of moving pathways, a spring to carry you to another platform, which introduces that mechanic. The badniks aren't hard to get around, and the keys are in plain sight. Easy as cake. I don't think easy makes it a bad level per se, but the game itself already isn't awesome. It's slow, and the game often turns the background into a seizure warning, including the first level. We'll consider it. Another I have to consider with how many spitballs I shoot at this game on a daily basis is Sonic Forces. Lost Valley is the first level. Now, keep in mind, it isn't the worst level in Sonic Forces. It isn't even the most hold forward and boost to win level in Sonic Forces. But being in Sonic Forces itself doesn't help. I hear a lot of people saying, actually, I really like Sonic Forces. And that's great, pal. Listen, I'm not innocent either. I've bought the game twice. I'm basically rewarding Sega for bad behavior here. But we can't ignore the fact that the first level, and many others, have sections that are 2/3 hold forward and boost to win. There are sections of this game where you can genuinely not even be looking at the screen. Just holding boost and you'll still win with an S rank sometimes. Hell, the first level can take you under a minute if you don't care about the red stars. And if you do, congratulations. You've just added another 15 to 20 seconds worth of gameplay time spent looking for them. Just look at the enemies. I don't care if you love Sonic Forces and this is the hill you unfortunately want to die on, you cannot defend this shit. Now, that's not to say every first level of every Sonic game has threatening enemies, but this is the only game I can think of where there are actual statues waiting for Sonic to run at them. While Sonic Labyrinth itself isn't the best game ever, at least you get to use your brain in that game. Lost Valley isn't the worst level in Sonic Forces, but just being in this dog shit game takes you down a peg already. Sonic X for the Leapfrog Leapster is up next. A game I'm positive none of you have ever played. Fortunately, I own it, and a Leapfrog Leapster, and I've played through the entire game. You can see more of that in my Sonic Educational Games video from way back in the day. While I think the premise of the game is stupid, with Eggman whipping out the fucking math robots, it's also a Sonic game for the Leapfrog Leapster. so, take what you can get. So the first level here is Act 1 in Station Square. Looking past the fact that they couldn't even be bothered to make new sprites for this game and just took from Sonic 3, we get introduced to the mechanics of the game. You solve math, or in some cases, just find a number to get past math robots and continue the level. I'm trying hard to focus on the levels themselves and not the mechanics of the game as a whole. I guess I kinda did that with Labyrinth though. Nevertheless, Sonic X over here is a slogfest to get through. Unlike Sonic for the Dig, another educational game, the walking is slow and the challenges are impossible to get around. And trust me, you want to get around them. Beyond that, the first level doesn't have a great layout. It feels like they wanted to make an educational game first and a video game second, which is almost certainly what happened. There isn't a single jump that needs to be here. Not a single spring that just had to be there. Nothing that allows you to speedrun. No movement tech here at all. Now that does persist throughout the game as well. But honestly, some of the later levels aren't nearly as bad as this one. This one just kinda sucks. The game is what it is, but if you want educational, go play Sonic for the Dig or Sonic's EduSoft. Game World for the Sega Pico is also a pretty decent choice. But whatever you do, just stay away from Tales from the Music Maker. Another one I feel I should mention is Sonic Blast for the Game Gear. Now, I've already called this guy one of the worst Sonic games ever made, but try to look past that here. The first level is Green Hill Zone Act 1. This level comes equipped with 3 loop-de-loops, some extra goodies, and all that good shit. Some of the levels in Sonic Blast are decent enough, especially considering what the game is. Some of them are also fucking atrocious. But this level is kinda like Sonic Forces. Now, Lost Valley in Sonic Forces takes a little longer, while Green Hill in Sonic Blast requires a tiny bit of extra brain power. So some pros and cons to both. My problem with this level comes with the fact that you can beat it in about 20 seconds. Is it the level's fault that players can just ignore everything in the actual level? Well, I'd certainly say so. Green Hill Zone in the Genesis version of Sonic 1 is quick if you know what you're doing, but you actually have to learn Sonic's momentum and movement to be able to speedrun it. Here, it is a walk to the finish line with some jumps to ignore hazards. 20 seconds, I want to remind you. And we know they can make good games on the Game Gear. I mean, just look at Triple Trouble. That's a great game. Most other games have a decent enough first level, even the obscure ones. Pinball Party and Spinball are fine. Second level of Pinball Party might actually be considered for hardest fucking level though. Sonic 2 for the Game Gear is unreasonably difficult, but the actual first level is fine. Most mainline Sonic game first levels are inoffensive at worst, except for this guy. Even Tales in the Music Maker, the first page, which I'll consider as the first level, is by far the best page in the entire game. Tails Sky Patrol is an okay first level, nothing to write home about. Fucking Sonic 06 has a fine enough first level. Like, it's a little broken, but at least it's not as boring as Blast and Forces. So I think I'm calling it here. I mentioned a bunch of other games to show that anything you're thinking of has probably been considered. If it wasn't mentioned, it's either a racing game, doesn't have an exact first level, or it's mid at worst. But if you feel that I missed it, drop it in the comments. So which one of these is the worst one? Between boring Forces, over before you can fucking blink Blast, slow and too simple Labyrinth, or incredibly uninspired Sonic X. Labyrinth is out of the question. Forces and Blast are worse for the same reasons. And I think Sonic X is inoffensive enough due to the fact that it's fucking Sonic X for the Leapster. Forces and Blast is a really tough competition though. I don't want to play either game, but I guess Blast's first level is over before you know it. But then again, Sonic Forces boosting through enemies is kind of cool in the most boring way possible, especially compared to this shit-ass blue background over here in Sonic Blast. I think I will give it to Forces. You don't have to ignore everything in Blast. There is an entire bonus stage, and the enemies do actually try to hurt you. In Sonic Forces, you're encouraged to boost through it. The 2D section is short and has no substance. There's almost no bonuses besides red rings, which, again, takes you an extra 20 seconds at worst to go collect them. But it really is just a turn off your brain kind of level. It's actually void of any kind of substance. And it's the only level in the Sonic franchise that can make me say that. Everything else at least has something going on. Before we go on, make sure you guys subscribe. It really helps out the channel, and if you stick around long enough and give me more ideas, we can spend even more time together. And isn't that what you've always wanted? More time with good old Fez, yep. Alright, Sonic is out of the way. How about Mario? Same rules apply to him. What's Mario's absolute worst first level he's ever had? I considered shit like Tales in the Music Maker for Sonic, so I guess I can consider stuff like Luigi's Mansion for Mario. Only feels right. Though, problem is, there are way too many spin-offs out there for Mario, so excuse me if I've missed something here. Also, Luigi's Mansion isn't being considered. That was just an example, and it's an absolute fucking masterpiece. Super Mario Land for the Game Boys up first. Now, Super Mario Land isn't a terrible game. I don't even think the first level is the worst thing ever. My criticism comes from the fact that half the first level can be covered with a superstar, so it's just a walk-to-finish simulator. And we can't talk about a walk-to-the-finish simulator without New Super Mario Bros. For the DS. Holy shit, I think the Mega Mushroom is cool, don't get me wrong, but wow, did you know there's an actual level here? It suffers the same fate as Mario Land and even Sonic Blast to some extent. Now, you don't necessarily have to finish these levels like this, but the game sure encourages you to, especially here in New Super Mario Bros. Once you get your hands on the Mega Mushroom, it's game over for the level design. You can walk from start to finish, killing everything and collecting almost everything, which is a shame. Anyone who played this game as a kid when it came out, aka my generation, remembers how fucking cool it was to get that Mega Mushroom. It's such a letdown as an adult. I've talked about this one before, but Mario Pinball Land has gotta be one of my least favorite Mario games. I'll consider the area immediately after you go through the cannon as the first level. My gripe with this game isn't the layout. That's fine, I guess. It's just a couple of beehives and some Goombas. The problem here is that you have to move on through the game. In normal pinball, you don't have complete control over where your ball goes, but it's okay. The objective is points. Here, you can spend all day and not move past the first area because Mario doesn't fucking go where you want him to go. Now, if you spend all day on the first level, that may be a skill issue. It isn't that hard, but you know what I mean. This just isn't how pinball is supposed to go, damn it. Again, the actual first level is fine. When it comes to moving on, it might be the easiest in the game. So I guess as far as first levels go, it could be worse. But you know which one really fucking sucks? Mario 2. The Lost Levels. Holy shit. This shit blows. Nintendo really heard that everyone liked Super Mario Bros. And decided to punish them for it. The first level is harder than any first level has any right to be. Now, it isn't the hardest thing ever. If you're an experienced video game player, it won't take you too long. But a lot of people aren't experienced. This game starts off with a mushroom that's trapped and you have to bounce it out. Then immediately after that, there's a poison mushroom. There's way more enemies than there ought to be, too. It really just takes anyone who saw Mario 1, who had some fun with it, and decided, oh, Mario 2 sounds up my alley, just for Nintendo to punch them in the balls. Now, the rest of the game is harder, so this level does do a good job of preparing you for the bullshit ahead, but it doesn't make it a good level. Lastly, I'm gonna bring up Mario vs. Donkey Kong Minis March Again. The first level might as well not exist. I know they were trying to make it effectively a tutorial, but man, show me how to do more than this then. The first level has nothing to it. It's a 20-second level with nothing going on. A brainless idiot could figure this out. I'm all for using a first level to show us how to play, especially in a puzzle game like this, but why not do a bunch of shit in the first level and not stretch it out across multiple levels? Remember Sonic and the Secret Rings tutorial? I fucking hated it when I was a kid. It takes so long. I see why they had to do it like this in Secret Rings, so it's not the most fair comparison, but I'm just getting a point across. We do not like tutorials that drag on too long. There really is a method to doing tutorials correctly. Also, Secret Rings first level is fucking awesome. Okay, those are the Mario games. Lost Levels, Minis March Again, Super Mario Land, Pinball Land, and New Super Mario Bros. Some of these are decent enough games. There were a lot of games to consider, and so many of them I'd look at and say, nah, not this one. I was already not including sports, racing, dancing, all that shit. But man, Mario really only pumps out bangers. Even games I'm not the biggest fan of when they're already kinda controversial for it, like Wario World for the GameCube. The first level is just kinda fine enough. Sorry to the Wario World fans out there, it's just not for me. Now, onto the levels. Pinball Land is more frustrating than it ought to be. Lost Levels is unfair for a first level, and really, the whole game should have just been an extra hard mode for the first game. That would have been a great addition. New Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Land are only here because they're walking simulators. More so New Super Mario Bros., so I guess we can get Super Mario Land off the list. Minis March Again is barely a level, too. I guess in terms of literally which one is the worst level, it goes to Minis March Again. I mean, you don't do anything here. Pinball Land, I feel like I'm critiquing the game as a whole, so I'm gonna give it a pass here. In terms of actually being a level, I guess I have to say New Super Mario Bros. Lost Levels isn't fair, but it's better than a walking simulator. And when it comes to platformers, literally anything is better than a fucking walking simulator. And I'm looking at you, Sonic Forces. So our winner is New Super Mario Bros. Now, does it beat Sonic Forces? So they both lose for the same reason here. That makes it kind of tough. But the more I think about it, the more it goes to Sonic Forces. The enemies do not pose a threat. I cannot stress that enough. With New Super Mario Bros., sure, Goombas and Koopa Troopa are nothing special, but they're not meant to be. Egg pawns have performed before. We've seen them do it. Plus, in New Super Mario Bros., there's a couple hidden areas areas that you can't get to unless you ignore the Mega Mushroom. And that's worth some points right there. Sonic Forces first level has absolutely nothing extra going on. This one goes to Sonic Forces. So that's it for this one. Remember to get your ideas in for the next video and vote on these polls. I need you guys to tell me what videos to make because I can't do this shit alone. Can't wait to see you guys in the next one. See you later.